Seek paradise, won't change your mind. Can't shape the lights, I'll take the chance and roll the dice. I want it all, just for the night. I live it out like I'll never die. I lose my head in the starry skies. Can't chain me down, I feel so alive. Back down, only one way out. I let you run my life, now you won't get me down. Untamed, guess I lost my mind. You turn me inside out, no one can stop me now. So turn up the light, turn up the light. This is what I waited for, 'cause the clock keeps ticking, hard for me to keep up. I can't take it no more, 'cause the time keeps turning, feels just like it speeds up. It's what I waited for. Close your eyes, seek paradise, won't change your mind. Can't shake the light, I'll take the chance and roll the dice. Just wanna feel the stars surround, the atmosphere never to come down. I'll stand alone, whether right or wrong. It takes me home, right where I belong. Back down, only one way out. I let you run my life, now you won't get me down. Untamed, guess I lost my mind. You turn me inside out, no one can stop me now. So turn up the light, turn up the light. This is what I waited for, 'cause the clock keeps ticking, hard for me to keep up. I can't take it no more. This is what I waited for, 'cause the clock keeps ticking, hard for me to keep up. I can't take it no more, 'cause the time keeps turning, feels just like it speeds up. It's what I waited for.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Rhinestone Island episode 36, and it's a lovely morning here in Rhinestone Island. As you can see, we did just finish up the new apartment complexes from like 2 episodes ago. I just wanted to jump in here and finish these off. I know that we've been sort of doing other things, and I didn't want to do anything else until we finish these off. So I'll give you a quick tour real quick of these 2 new apartment complexes. This one's like the nicer one, closer to downtown, so we've got some nicer amenities. Of course, just like the standard parking lots over here, we got some barbecue stuff going on, you know, some tents and stuff. And then over here, we've got the basketball court with like a fenced off area, some different picnic tables, and a little plaza in the middle here, followed by the main pool, which is like a pretty good sized pool. Also a little hot tub area over here with some cool rock formations and stuff, and of course all this sort of privacy foliage to cover up the Starbucks behind it. Now this isn't actually done yet, I just didn't want to go any further. Just wanted to focus on the actual complexes themselves. So over here we've got the more modest apartment complex. We've got a nice fenced off region over here with also a community pool over on this side, as well as some parking over here and also over here. And then some nice privacy foliage all around here to kind of divide this apartment complex from, well, what's going to be the rest of this neighborhood over here. So I also wanted to leave some room for some commercial over here, also possibly some more residential, neighborhoods and suburbs over on this side, but that'll all come later. I just wanted to knock this out and not leave this stuff undone any longer. So there you go. But anyway, today's episode, what I want to do is I want to finally finish the Marina. I know that's been sort of on everyone's mind for a while now. It's been the ongoing project that hasn't been finished quite yet. So today's the day. I want to first dive in, tackle this area over here. This has been sort of an ongoing project for a while, so this will be fun to do, just like work on the park area over here on this side. Finally get to this roundabout over here and work on the, what's going to be one of hopefully 3 different resorts. Maybe have like one over here on this little peninsula, and then we'll have 2 on this side, and then also that will, since we finish the resorts, we'll have finally the ability to finish off these little corners over here and get the jetties done, and then that will pretty much finish off this marina. So looking forward to that. Also, one more thing, I did finally name this town. I apologize for asking for names like 2 episodes in a row and not actually naming it. I've been recording in advance, trying to get ready for midterms and stuff, and you know how it goes. So I couldn't get to it, but I decided to name it Copperville. It's kind of a combination of a few different names. I had some really awesome suggestions, so thank you guys, all of you who submitted suggestions, some pretty awesome names and stuff. I'm going to go in and look for some more probably during the episode, maybe name the marina and stuff around this area. But someone said, I think Copper something. It was like Copper Bay or something like that, but I liked that, but I think just like a single name, Copperville, fits a little bit better. So I went with Copperville. I'm a fan of that one. I feel like it's kind of a nice, I don't know, it's just like a fitting and a nice simple name for a nice simple town over here. So anyway, this is now Copperville. We can get started now on the main marina, and I guess let's get to it. All right, so this is what's going to be finally the completion of the marina. I know this has been an ongoing project, and to be honest with you, I really did not think when I started working on this that I was going to be able to finish the entire thing in one episode, and it was a pretty ambitious thing to do because I really did want to do both of the resorts and finish the entire sort of inner part of the marina. So I do apologize for not having this up last week. I usually do one a week with Rhinestone, typically on the weekends, sometime around there, but it did not work out this way this time, and that was because I was really, really adamant on just finishing the entire thing. I don't want to do a 2-part, another split in the, I just wanted to get it done and allow us to just start on something new next episode. So I hope you understand, I hope that makes sense. But all that being said, I really, really love the way this all turned out. I think that with the addition of some new mods that we've got installed, and really at this point, I mean, like, I'm saying this from the future where, after recording this, some even more amazing mods have come out, which it seems like every week now there's like an amazing new groundbreaking game-changing mod coming out. But even with the mods that were out whenever I recorded this, some pretty cool things are possible, and I played around a bit with the I guess some more even with the idea of using the Move It tool and the Angle Junctions mod to kind of, clip things in and out and mess around with that stuff. But that'll come later on. Let's talk a bit about what's going on right now. So this is the area that has been under construction for far too long. It's kind of like the main strip, like right on the outside of our little roundabout in front of the harbor, and sort of like the main park area right outside the marina. Now, I took some inspiration from Venice Beach in California. I think that those little muscle beach things are pretty cool. So there's like a little workout kind of outdoor facility over here where there's some benches and like some fencing so you can like watch people. I don't know. It's like a big thing in the Venice Beach area anyway. We've also got like a basketball court. We've got the big skate park over there, throwing down some palm trees and some planters and things over here. I kind of picture this whole area to be the kind of, well, I mean, it already is like by far the most busy area in this entire town, just because it's like right next to the harbor. It's right next to the main train station, which, by the way, for having only 2 stops on this route, this is a really busy train station. Like, there's literally only this stop and then the stop in Luxaway Bay, all the way down in Central Station, right next to the Casino City. And those 2 stops are producing some insane amounts of traffic. So I love that, honestly. I love seeing transport systems getting used like that. And it's really done a number. I mean, it's made a huge impact on traffic flow. It's much lighter traffic flow via car anyway, coming in and out of this town now. So that's super nice. But on top of that, it makes this whole area very busy. Lots of stuff happening. So it really makes me want to put some detail in here and make it like a really fun and cool environment, because when there's lots of people around, I want to make it a cool looking area. And so that's like the whole goal surrounding this area over here. So you can see we're sort of halfway done with the strip, but I'm kind of jumping back now. I'm going to do some work on this soccer field over here, or football field, whatever you want to call it. Now I do really want this to be sort of more along the lines of like an open public field that's maybe used by like local high schools and stuff, or their own club teams or whatever. Maybe like some like pickup games would go on here, or I don't know, those kinds of things, right? It's not like a big college stadium or whatever. So I tried to mimic that look. I've always kind of noticed there's usually like some benches for the players to sit. There's not much else really, just like a painted field, and that's it. The other thing that I noticed a lot is there's always like a billion of those lawn chairs, so I try to put those in there. But I kind of skip most of that. Again, that'll be the a very common thing we'll see throughout this episode is a bit of skipping here and there, because it really did end up being a pretty big project, and I think that we had to cut a few things out so we could make the end stuff fit the projects where we're working on the resort, which I think was sort of the bigger thing of this episode. So you'll see that in a minute here. But anyway, this is the point in the episode where I wanted to focus on taking the area right between like the beach walk kind of area. We've got all the different facilities, like the Muscle Beach and the volleyball courts and the basketball court and all that stuff. I wanted to make a divide between that and the neighborhoods over here. So I'm taking advantage of this green space. We're going to make a little park. You got some walkways, starting off like we always do with some places people to get from the neighborhoods over to the actual facilities over here. And then from there, just throwing down some of the core details. So we got like the fountain over there and this gazebo over here. And then from there, we'll plop down some trees. We'll start on the bigger foliage and then move down to the smaller foliage after that. I think I'll cut some of this though. It's pretty, tedious and lots of tree placement and jumping around, and not a lot of time. Again, we're cutting a lot of this out because this was a pretty big project, and I think all in all, I actually recorded probably on par, like this episode with the airport episode, which was to date probably the biggest and largest thing that I took on in one episode, and that was even like a 2-parter. So I don't know, whatever. But in the end, though, I think it all was worth it. I'm really happy with the result of this area, maybe even just like the little gazebo and some nice big oak trees and wild grass and flowers and stuff. I think it really does make the neighborhoods a lot nicer to have this like little buffer, so you're not just like staring straight at all this commercial stuff over here. But anyway, it looks like we're finally moving on to the first resort. This one will be a little bit smaller, a little bit more focused on the actual hotel itself. The second one's going to have some more like commercial shopping and things, but this one was the very first time that I really took a stab at really taking advantage of not only the sharp angle junctions mod, so we can make some collision stuff happen, but also the move it tool to like plop things down and then totally move them and clip them beside each other, and make some interesting, unique buildings sort of out of that. So you'll see here that I start with the Big Horizon Hotel. This is like the main building. The scale is pretty large compared to the other buildings in this area. Not a lot of giant buildings like this one, but I thought it was necessary, and I also felt like this is going to be, pretty much the only actual primary building in this complex, so may as well make it kind of big. Here we're going to fit in the tennis club. I thought this was kind of a cool little feature. We got the club sort of split right in there inside the hotel. Not like this. I'm gonna move around a little bit, but I think all in all, it ended up being kind of a cool little project here. Just plop it in there, kind of an overhang going on over there, and some collision. But I think it's pretty cool. I like the ability to do this kind of stuff now. I feel like it really does add personality to the city when you can create these like interesting looking complexes that are a little more realistic, frankly. I mean, you don't really ever look at these big, resort complexes and see like very gridded out, just like things plopped with like plenty of space between them. It's usually like everything's kind of built into each other, and so this gives us the opportunity to do that, which is pretty awesome. I'm gonna rough up this little coast over here. We're getting pretty close to that boat line there that I drew earlier on, and I totally forgot was so close to this little peninsula. So I'll try to keep myself from getting too close to that. I think the end we're pretty okay, pretty safe. They do get kind of close to the shore, but not that close. And they're also approaching the harbor, and they're very close to the harbor. So I'd imagine they're gonna get pretty close at the end there anyway. So not a huge deal, nothing too ridiculous, but. Here we're going to get some rock placement down. We're starting on the amenities sort of behind the hotel over here. Maybe the bigger part of this project, at least for this hotel. And still going with that sort of like resort feel. So I'm trying to make everything look kind of integrated. So we've got like the surface painter on our side. We're plopping lots of concrete that kind of, I guess, blends everything together. And then back here, the dirt as well. And then over here, I didn't really know what to do at first, and then I thought, you know what, let's just do some nice simple little picnic tables back here, and then give like a nice view of the ocean, and have some nature back here. Not anything crazy, no further amenities over here, just like some fenced off stuff, that's all. So nice and simple back here, and then it leads into, of course, our big swimming pool kind of complex. Now, I've stayed at a few different resorts that are kind of like this, and I'm always a huge fan of these like really cool looking swimming pools. So I tried to do a few new things with this one, but I think that what's really going to be awesome is the swimming pool in the next resort. So look forward to that one. I think that was like a much bigger project, and I think it turned out pretty awesome. So I'm really excited to show you guys that one in a minute here, but this one was pretty nice too. It's kind of a smaller one, just like a single pool, and a couple of hot tubs and things by the rocks over there. And then we're starting on the foliage placing now. What I always like to do is kind of start with the bigger trees and then move on to the smaller pieces of foliage. So that's what we're doing here. I'm gonna, I think, just focus real quick on this little roundabout here. It was always kind of like weirdly shaped and kind of odd looking the way it was before. So here we're gonna really give it some detailing and make it look nice, which is what I've been really wanting to do for a super long time now. But I gotta say, I think it really looks cool now with that train line kind of like connecting with the rocks there, and swinging around right in the middle of that little roundabout there, and then some fencing and all the details that are required to make this look nice. And yeah, I think it's like a nice little thing there, a nice entry point anyway. And you can see it's going to be used quite a bit too. Lots of cars around that area. But now we're moving into the bush type foliage. I wanted to make this whole area like leading up to the resort look super nice, have lots of like flowery bushes and nice looking trees, but also look pretty natural, because I feel like we want to try and preserve this like natural look of the peninsula over here. Obviously the resort itself does quite a bit to terraform and make it look like a big man-made structure. So I wanted to have the area surrounding it look a bit more natural, a bit more nice. So especially in the back here where it sort of turns into a jetty, I tried to use a combination of the big decals and some logs here and there. We got some wild grass growing and stuff like that, I guess. I don't think I'm gonna really touch on the jetty too much yet, but we'll get back to that in a bit, and you'll see my plans for that in the future here. Just some more trees, some more bushes. I felt like for some reason this particular area was going to be like a picturesque location where I'd take lots of screenshots, so I tried to make it look nice, and I think it was pretty cool at the end there. Putting down some fencing on the way on up here. I kind of did like a half and half thing where it sort of like alternates which side of the road it's on. And then at this point, I was looking to, well, I mean, I guess I imagine this resort's so big it should have some sort of like security. So there's like a little security rail thing there. We got some jersey barriers there, and then I'll have like a little kiosk thing here to get in. We'll have like a police officer stationed here, I guess, all that stuff. Just trying to make it look like it's a nicer resort with some actual security, obviously. So, and I did try and make this look a bit nicer. I felt like the standard kiosk was kind of weird, so I tried to clip some things in here and made like a little box where the officer would be sitting and all that stuff, and then put some little decals and things around here. And then I, of course, totally wanted to go crazy with the decals and plop them everywhere else as well. So that's what that's all about. But finally getting into the detail foliage, which I was looking forward to doing for a while now. So plopping that stuff on down around here by the pool. We're going to get some of these lawn chairs in, and this is like something that's to me like a total resort thing to do. I just feel like these resorts always have like an insane amount of lawn chairs like everywhere, or tanning chairs, whatever you want to call them. So you'll see that in this one, and especially in the other resort, as well as some like outdoor furniture and some lighting and stuff here and there, just like some of the finer details, some trash cans and stuff around this area. But really getting pretty close to being done with this one. I think it was a pretty cool first attempt at our resort over on this side. I think that this particular thing here, which I'm doing, and I mentioned in the last episode as well, sort of just making like a rock erosion barrier around here. I think this one really ties in the whole, like this whole corner of the marina, and it makes this whole resort look kind of nice. I think that it looked a bit odd, just like the default texture for the walls were kind of weird, the rock and dirt and stuff. So I'm in love with this whole concept of using these default rocks as like a erosion barrier. I think it's a really, really, really cool idea. So I'll try and use it as much as I can in these areas to shape things up a bit, make them look a bit nicer. Even in areas where there's some like natural stuff growing, I kind of like plop them in here and there as if there's been sort of an effort to preserve most of the I don't know, I guess the peninsula without eroding all of it away, but also leaving some room for some natural stuff to grow and all that stuff. So that's that. Now, all right, here we go. We're on to the much bigger second resort over here. Now, this one, I really wanted to go crazy with some pretty awesome new assets. So you can see we got this like luxurion looking shopping center over here. And then I'm going to try and combine that with this gigantic, I think it's called the Wave. It's like a pretty new resort hotel looking, hotel. It's a hotel, but I think it's a really cool looking building. So I'm going to try and clip it in here with that Luxurion building. And I got to say, I mean, they really both fit together super well. I think their styles are pretty similar, much more modern than our other resort over there. And then now I know that right now it looks a little bit odd. Obviously it's a pretty big building, but I want to assure you that I'm very well aware of this, and the rest of this episode is pretty much totally dedicated to detailing this thing and making it look much nicer. So we're gonna have, and you can see, man, by the way, just to mention this, I love this. I love how once you clip these buildings, you can place roads kind of going inside them, and it just totally fixes the road connection problem. So I just drew a road like straight into that parking garage, and it just kind of dead ends inside the parking garage. But now when cars are going to visit these buildings, they all go into the parking garage, which I think is like so cool. Like now, instead of them like driving all this traffic driving straight up to the building and then just like driving into the building, now they drive into the parking garage, which is pretty sweet. So I don't know, just like a little thing that was like fixing one thing and also looking really cool in the process. So that was kind of nice. Here's our sort of like impromptu connection. I'm gonna touch on this stuff later on, honestly. The real reason why I'm worrying about it so much right now is I wanted to get the interior part of this this whole marina done, and I also wanted to leave room for a beach, which is going to be right alongside this resort. So of course we're going to have like a super fancy beach area next to this resort. I think it was only it was necessary. with this view and this whole area. So anyway, this is my first real go at making a larger pool complex, and I think it was a really cool project. I mean, it was a lot of fun regardless, but I took a lot of inspiration from some of these like Disney resorts where they have these like big like rock looking things. We got like this integrated little lighthouse. It's all like themed and everything. You know, I kind of imagine this being like maybe like a pirate or a adventure themed little water park area. So we got some details going in. We got some rocks. I used these default rocks, which kind of fit well, I think, to kind of hang over the actual pool area. But I sort of imagine this entire pool to be like a big wave pool. And I know it would have been nice if we had like a larger modular like pool set here, but these are really the only good pool prop assets that we have right now. So I was kind of forced to use these, and as a result, there is of course, you know, like the line connections in the middle. But I think by the end, once we get all these rocks in and we sort of hide the fact that there's 3 different pools, it does actually look like one giant wave pool, which is pretty cool. So that was the goal here with our restricted props that we could use. And I think in the end it was actually pretty successful. I think it worked out pretty well. But here we're just laying out the basic design for the pool complex. You can see I sort of start with the swimming pools and the hot tubs, and then I'll go and use some rocks to sort of like shape up where all the natural stuff's going to go that kind of breaks everything up. And then we jump in and start putting down the concrete and, you know, laying out the details and stuff. I got some little play sets in here, which I kind of imagine would be like those big water play sets that you see in these resorts. So I tried to do that over there. And now we're jumping into the sort of surrounding concrete work. I'm really trying to get like a feel for what this entire complex is going to look like before I do too much of the finer detailing, because, you know, you never know when you're going to change up a little bit and maybe use something different. So that's where all this stuff came in. You can see just like the surface painter tool work, trying to do something similar that I did in the first resort with this one as you approach the jetty. So some kind of like torn up stuff over here. We got some rocks. We're gonna have some foliage and trees and fallen logs, all that good stuff over there. But now we're working our way towards the interior part of the marina over here. So we're gonna have some rocks. We're gonna have all that retaining wall stuff in the future here. But I think now I wanted to jump back and start doing some detailing and maybe just like outline this area, kind of fence off where the resort would go. Put some fencing on in here. I tried to use these little split wood fences in these interior parts. I feel like they kind of fit the theme a bit better, so that's what I'm using there, with the more like black metal fencing on the outside, which I think is a much more like modern looking fence for this like very modern looking complex over here. And then some broken up fencing here and there, which I think actually really made this whole area look really nice. There's like broken split fence things here and there. And then moving on to, of course, the retaining wall, the anti-erosion rocks over here, which again, man, I love how these look. I've always loved this idea. So I can never tell who really did this first, but so it's really hard to credit anybody, but I've seen it a lot in Strict Toaster's work. I think Addis does this quite a bit. I know Fresh Popcorn does this. I don't know, but it's a really cool idea, and I super suggest that you guys try it if you have the prop line tool. It's a really, really cool way to make any of these walls, it's like retaining walls or jetties or anything like that, look very realistic. So pretty cool stuff. We're almost done here, doing some more of this like kind of slightly more natural looking retaining walls. So I'm trying to make it kind of break up in certain areas and really cover the steeper parts of the wall, while I kind of leave the less steep parts a bit less protected, a bit more natural, which I think is pretty common in these areas. But I don't know, something to me about having this this retaining wall for the marina kind of broken up and not so unified all the way through just kind of looks a bit more like natural and cool. I don't know. I thought it was it looks kind of older, like it's been there for a long time. I don't know. I think it was a cool little concept to run with. So anyway, this is some more of those big tanning chairs that are like all spread across this area, and especially if you've ever been to like these big wave pools, there's just like an insane number of these fold out chairs. So we're gonna have a ton of them all across this resort over here, all surrounding the pools and pretty much any free little area there. And then here's where I think it really comes to life. I think that the foliage is always my favorite part. I love getting to put those details in. And you might have noticed there just for a minute, I don't know if it'll happen again, but when I'm putting down these palm trees, you can use the Move It tool if you have the random tree rotation mod, and then just kind of like slowly move that tool with those like overhanging palms, and you can like sort of adjust which angle they're going to go based on that. And it really works well. It's fantastic for like areas where I want to have it hang over the pool like that. So just a little tip if you like to use that mod. It's super useful. But I think that the wave pool in particular is going to get some really nice attention, much needed attention, sort of surrounding the areas where the pool and the pools are divided just naturally because they're different objects. The foliage really hides that quite a bit, I think, and looks super nice in the process. So that was good, but of course, it's always my favorite part to put down the foliage. It's lots of fun to do that kind of stuff. Really does bring the whole thing to life, I think. But anyway, getting into some of the more finer foliage details here, just some like little like variety pieces here and there. Jumping into some trash cans, gonna use I think some benches and stuff around here as well, which we needed. But we're really getting pretty close to being done with this primary resort, which is pretty cool. And then it'll be more a focus on just kind of detailing the rest of this area, the jetty, and that little area right outside the jetty, of course. But like I said at the beginning of this episode, the entire goal here is to completely finish both resorts and completely finish the marina, which I think was accomplished minus the beach kind of area that's going to attach to this resort. But that'll come next episode, and when we get to that, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have plenty of work to do with getting the beach done, but also kind of integrating the beach and the whole entry point of this resort with the rest of the city, or the rest of the town, I should say, which will kind of come a little bit later on. But here I'm loving using those little overhanging trees and these purple bushes to kind of make a blend between, again, this like very commercial man-made looking building and what I would want to be like a more natural looking peninsula that kind of comes out this way and then becomes the jetty eventually. So we got some tall grass, of course, lots of tall grass, especially when there's like some shallow water. I just like totally fill it with tall grass. I mean, those inner areas, especially where there's not a lot of like water movement, you're going to have tons of like wild grass and big bushes and things growing right in the water. So I'm trying to use lots of that to make it a little bit more realistic and a bit more natural, especially in these inner areas over here. And then from there, I want to sort of touch up on this whole area that's going to go into the blend between the hotel and the jetty. So again, the detailing, the tropical bushes, all that stuff, and that will be contributing to this whole area looking natural and a little bit less man-made than that giant hotel resort right next to it. So anyway, all that being said, this is pretty much the end of the episode. I don't think much more is going to be done here, but accomplished everything that I set out to do. We got the 2 resorts done. We got the entirety of the marina done, and the inner detailing and all the detailing surrounding the marina is also complete. So that leaves next episode to be, well, the work on that beach I was talking about just outside of this marina and resort. And then really just like the working of that land in that area. So getting the beach resort and the hotel resort all kind of connected back to the main town again, and working that land over there. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to leave you with some cinematic shots and some little close-ups of things you may have not seen during the time lapse that I think turned out pretty good. And yeah, that pretty much does it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.